Let's take a look at an example of using the distance formula. So maybe we're given the point -2, -1, and the point 3, 6. So let's plot our point. So -2, -1 is here, and then 3, 6. So 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is up here. So we want to find this distance, that distance there. So there's a couple ways we can do this. We can use the Pythagorean Theorem, which would require us to know the horizontal and vertical change between our 2 points, or we could use the distance formula. So let's try the Pythagorean Theorem first. So if we want to use Pythagorean Theorem, we're going to have to construct a right triangle like so. So now that we have our right triangle, we need to figure out, well, what's the change in our x and what's the change in our y? Because remember, this is d, this distance. So we know that d squared is equal to the change in our x squared plus the change in our y squared. So we have to figure out, well, what is our change in our y and what is our change in our x? So delta y, which is just the change in our y coordinates, is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7. And then delta x, the change in our x, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5. So now we can just take these values and substitute them in here. So we have d squared equals 5 squared plus 7 squared. And then we can simplify this, so we get that d squared equals 25 plus 49. 25 and 49, that's 74. So d squared equals 74. But we need d from this, so we take the square root of both sides, and we would get that d equals the square root of 74. And that would be our distance. So that's the first method that we could use. We could have also used the distance formula, right? So let's see what we would get if we use the distance formula. So remember, the distance formula says this: d equals the square root of, and we take the difference of our x coordinates, so x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared, and we add that to the difference of our y coordinate squared, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. So we have our ordered pairs here, so we will just take the difference of our ordered pairs and substitute them in, and that will give us the distance. So we have d equals the square root of this whole thing. So for the for the x coordinates, so 3 minus a -2, 3 minus a -2 squared. And then let's add that to the difference of our y coordinates, 6 minus a -1 squared. Okay, so we are subtracting a negative. So when you subtract a negative, that becomes addition, right? So these become addition. So we're adding here. So if we look at this, we get d equals the square root of 3 plus 2 squared, that's 5 squared. And then 6 plus 1 squared, that's 7 squared, so plus 7 squared. And we get d equals the square root of 25 plus 49, which is the square root of 74, which is the same thing that we got up here. So we get that this distance is the square root of 74.